Am I more than you bargained for? Ghoul. Been 200 years since the bombs all blew.
He said, I don't think you're a cowboy at all. I think you're a killer. Right?
Yeah. It's funny because he's an actor. He's not either of those things. Although I guess, yeah, he was a soldier. He did kill people. So maybe that's his truest calling, he's saying.
Junkies and bottle cap babies, you're my new...
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fallout Boys. We're the officially unofficial podcast for all your Amazon TV Prime Studios Fallout action. I'm your host, Aaron, and joining me today is honorary Fallout boy, Pete. Introduce yourself.
Hey, Pete Pepper's here.
Yeah, Pete has been a longtime friend of the show. You probably, if you're a longtime Bald Move fan, you'll recognize him from our long breakdowns of things like Pluribus and what was that other one we really got into last year? I think we did some things on Silo, Foundation, Severance. Yeah, that was the other early one last year that we got into. Pete's got his own channel on YouTube, Pete Peppers. You can find it by searching for Pete Peppers, and we'll put his channel link in the show notes. I noticed that you're also got weekly coverage of Fallout. Are you doing any of those like weekend breakdowns or?
No, I haven't. I thought about it. The thing with Fallout is there's so many lore channels and things like that
right.
It's not quite as interesting for that as, I mean, yeah, like with Pluribus and Severance, I knew like that was 100% up my, like that's exactly my kind of TV. And I knew I had a lot of people that I could bring in to talk about it. Fallout, I was just like, there's going to be so much coverage from gaming channels, from the big channels, because it's a huge IP property. So I just didn't really know how that was going to work out and decided to not do that week to week.
I will say the one difference, and the reason Jim's not here today is because he got ill. He got some radiation sickness. I'm sure they have some kind of hypo spray for radiation in Fallout. We're getting him set up with that. Radaway, I should have known. It's Dictol and Radaway. But what's different from me and Jim is Pete actually has a little bit more knowledge about the Fallout universe and the lore. He's played some of the games. So whereas we are completely virginal when it comes to the lore, you're a little bit more plugged in.
Yeah, I do enjoy these games. I'm not a lore maniac. Like, there's so much of it, and I wasn't around when the first two games came out, and to go back and play those now is a little bit... It's sort of like an academic kind of thing, more than... They're
pretty creaky, right? Fun. They haven't had remixes or remakes.
Yeah, it's not... The gameplay isn't quite as much fun as the newer one, so... But yeah, I do. I love the world. I think what more than anything I like about it is the vibe, which, like the post-apocalyptic thing has been done a million times, but I like the way that their alternate time. I mean, I like, we talk all the time, and we talked about a bunch of different shows, and of course, like alternate timelines, alternate histories. Those are things that are in our wheelhouse. And that was one of the things that drew me to Fallout. And it's fun, you know what I mean? Like there's like the show really embodies that too. There's serious stuff. There's serious lore. There's serious implications for everything that's going on, but it also has a sense of humor that is better than you might think for something like that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like definitely. I mean, and some things this year, I feel like they're wearing the video game stuff on its sleeve. Like there's an instance in this episode where characters slide underneath a chain. What's essentially a chain link fence with a chain around it. And it just absolutely stops a monster just stood up and demolished a facade of a building. So it's like. But that's classic video game logic. Like, you can scramble over fences and all that stuff. But if you get to a chain link fence that's 8 foot tall at the corner of the video game map, you're not getting over that because there's nothing on the other side to get to. So I have a couple of chuckles with it that way. I don't know that's the thing is like, I don't know how people who, I don't know if there's anyone or now that isn't video game aware. I mean, now all of us people that grew up in the video game age are getting into our 50s now. But like, I wonder if you're watching this, you don't play video games, like what? How's that thing going to stop that beast? How are you going to have like a thriving metropolis on the other side of a chain link wall from 2-story tall horned demons? But it's all part of the vibe, as you say.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the show with my wife, and I was surprised that she liked it as much as she did. And she's definitely never played like a console video game or, one of these kind of AAA title kind of things, like open world situations. So it doesn't seem to take her out of it. It seems like something that would take me out of it. Like if I knew that and I wasn't in on it, like I would feel sort of left out maybe, but
it's all about like going with the rule of cool, like it's kind of like John Wick. If you want to be like, oh, there's no way a guy in a suit can take that many rounds, then okay, you're not going to have a very good time. John Wick is going to come to an end halfway through its runtime in the first one. But if you kind of want to see Keanu Reeves be the Baba Yaga, then it'll work for you. And I think that's as long as the thing you're doing is cool enough, you can, and you're having fun with it, and the audience is engaged emotionally otherwise, because I think the characters are fantastic on the show, then you can get away with it. I want to bring the attention, because that's what this podcast is about, to episode 205, The Wrangler. This is an episode I thought that changed a lot of things on the board. Like it was rock solid certain that Cooper kind of was a pre-bomb fall good guy. And now it's a little, the waters are a little bit muddier. And, it's a great point in the halfway, or just over the halfway point that, how I feel about Cooper, how I feel about Barb. It's all up in the air, and Norm is really having some difficulties with his junior executive little retreat he's doing. What do you think of this episode?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. For me, it felt like everything was finally clicking into place. Not that the rest was bad, but it was just sort of like I had a lot of anticipation for how it was all going to come together. Yeah, and I was really curious about this two Mr. House situation, and when I was doing my video for episode 1, I was like sitting around for quite a while, just like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, why did they announce that Justin Theroux was being cast as Mr. House, but then presenting him in this way? So yeah. I was right about what they were doing, so that was satisfying. But then also, like, it opens up so many different possibilities at the same time. So yeah, I thought that was really exciting. I thought like some of the earlier episodes, they were jumping around so much. Sometimes it's a little bit whiplash inducing, you know what I mean? Like I felt like I would kind of want to stay in one of the stories a little bit longer. And and then like they would skip some for whole episodes. There was just a lot going on, and now it feels like it's starting to get momentum to, and it's funny because you said you haven't really played these games, but you've played games quite a bit, right? So there's that transition montage with the snake oil salesman when he's heading to Vegas, right? And that just totally encapsulates like what walking around one of the Wasteland games is. Like there's like the cars are on the side that are burnt out. Those are just like repeated over and over again between all the different locations and stuff. And it's just funny because he's happy, and then all of a sudden something happens, right? The rad roach, the rad roach jumps on him, and then he's just off again. And that, I thought that was really smart, and it kind of set up the transition from the first half of the season to the second.
Yeah, I think he's unironically Jim's favorite character, so I felt bad for him missing his apotheosis here. But I enjoyed it as well. I've got like it it's like I said, it seems like I keep getting more answers about people, but the mystery keeps getting deeper. Like, I was blown away that, you know, these Deathclaws are not, in fact, radiation twisted beasts, but there was some kind of genetic experiment, maybe by the U.S. government. Pre-war, that was a big bombshell this week or last week, and this week it's, you know, is Cooper, and does him and Barb get in cahoots in some way? Does he join her team? Does she join his team? Family's a fucked up thing. And then, yeah, like what is Hank trying to do? How's Norm going to get out of his predicament he's in? And, you know, that's been a hallmark of early Fallout seasons thus far, is that you got a whole bunch of disconnected plots that slowly converge. And here we've got, you know, I guess we had the Ghoul and Lucy together. Maximus is last seen fleeing the destruction of the Brotherhood. I assume he'll be getting involved in the
Area
action pretty good.
51 is very close to Las Vegas.
But now the Ghoul is impaled on a pike outside the casino hotel, and this show might be allergic to having any more than two protagonists on screen at one time. Is there's a party limitation size in Fallout of 2, because it just seems like you never can get the Ghoul, Lucy, and Maximus on the screen at the same time. Unless they're having a big fight. I certainly thought
about the idea that you're finally getting the chemistry and things going with the Ghoul and Lucy, and then they're splitting them up as soon as that happens. Like, that definitely dawned on me when I was watching.
And it's such a betrayal too. Like, how can they ever get back together, you know?
Yeah. But at the same time, like I said, I think, you know, you pointed it out. I think Maximus is right around the corner. So it would track that he's going to hook up with the Ghoul, rather than Lucy at this point, if Lucy's with Hank. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff set up here. That's exciting.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about this particular episode, just in general terms, or should we get right to the scene by scene breakdown?
I was just thinking, you know, as someone who's listened to a lot of Bald Move over the years, usually you play the role of the mildly interesting whenever Jim hasn't read something. I was realizing when you were talking right there that we're going to have some of those mildly interesting
You're gonna mildly
here.
It's been since...
I think people who are pretty invested in the lore have a pretty good idea of what's going on. Like, there's some things that we can't be sure about, but like this, at least for me, was the moment where I was like, okay, so now
everything's kind of coming together.
Yeah, because for stuff that you wouldn't know from watching the show, right? So there's some things that you're going to ask me about later where I'm going to have to not answer, because
I can't wait.
It'll be spoilers for anyone who's never played.
That's super fun. Sure. It's not often that I'm on the other side of that. I think it's happened on like The Expanse,
fun, especially as a fan of the show. You know,
as The Expanse and Dark Matter, I think is the times when Jim has had it over on me. So you're the lore master. I will sit at your feet and listen to it, because I do love soaking up lore. Let's start talking about episode 205, The Wrangler. We open with Lucy deferring to the Ghoul on how to best handle the pack of Deathclaws they're confronted with. He advises them to run. They follow Dogmeat through a gap in a wall that doesn't look nearly sturdy enough to keep out one of these Deathclaw beasts, but it does, and hey, that's the important part.
Yeah, and one of the things that I thought about whenever I was writing my script for the video was that there's also like a detail about the Deathclaws, right? Because I think you could use this as a thing. Like, of course they could crash through there if they wanted to, but they're really just sort of policing their territory. Like, they've taken up residence on the strip until no one else. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's still a bit of game logic you have to use. Like, why would they draw that imaginary barrier kind of thing? But like, I think based on what Ibrahim, or the bartender tells him about them coming in, it sounds like that's what we're supposed to understand, is that the reason why nobody's on the strip is because the Deathclaws are there and they keep everyone out. because
I thought they kind of just shambled in. Like they're like, I don't know, like maybe they got loose in Alaska and it's taken this long to walk down the Canadian Rockies to get into the desert. And they just, but you're suggesting maybe that they've been imported or they've been released specifically?
Well, okay, so this is a game thing, but this is something that he mentions directly, so I don't think it's in spoiler territory, right? He says that they came up from, what does he say? Quarry, I think it's Quarry Junction, right?
Yeah. He name checked the place.
And so that is an actual location in New Vegas, and that's full of Deathclaws, you know, so that's canon, is that they were in the Mojave.
Gotcha.
One of the things kind of funny about that is that you have to clear them out, and at first you just have to run because you can't. You don't have the gear necessary to.
These seem like
them.
late game enemies. Like you're not going to 1v1.
They're sort of like mini boss kind of enemies. They're not necessarily bosses, but they're above the regular things that you encounter for sure.
Yeah, and if you're living under a rock the last 40 years, or you're like 78 and you're listening to us from one of the many fine nursing homes in this country, a video game boss is just like a larger villain you have to beat. You know, it's like Bowser, you know, the big monster turtle guy in Super Mario Brother. He's a boss. So these Deathclaws.
He's the quintessential boss for sure.
Yeah.
You feel like everybody must know that, right?
Yeah. I thought it was really funny, some of the dialogue here where, because, you know, Lucy's still in the clutches of Buff Out and she's tweaking and she's still got that, like, you know, can do attitude. And she's like, you got any more, you know, and speaking of that, I'm running out of drugs. You got any more? He's like, no, I don't got any drugs. He's like, do you have a rocket launcher? And when she said no, the way he kind of like, he did that kind of like head kind of, oh, dang it. And it's really funny to see the ghoul kind of overmatched, you know. He's never been scared in this show that I've ever seen in ghoul form, and this might be the first time.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that thing. Like you can, he might not die, but you still don't want to get torn to shreds, right?
Right.
Like the Deathclaw is much worse than most things that could happen to him.
It's also not clear to me that he can't die. Like, I'm assuming, you know, like standard zombie rules would apply that if you cut off his head and burnt his body, he'd probably, like, that would, but, or you nuked him or something. Yeah, you
definitely kill hundreds, if not thousands of ghouls running around.
But he's the Omega
wasteland.
ghoul. You know, he does seem like he's more than your average ghoul.
Yeah, the actual lore on that is pretty established, you know what I mean? Like their cells don't age normally after they've been transformed. So that's why he can be alive 200 years later. The show seems to have, you know, had added these vials that keep them from going feral.
Right.
But the real thought is that you get some extra skills, you know, you get some extra, you don't die as easy. You regenerate with using, you know, radiation, things like that. But there's always the risk, if you are a ghoul, that you would end up becoming feral at some point. That's why people don't just like voluntarily do it for the extra,
There's the aesthetic problems too. You know, you lose a lot of soft tissue.
Yeah, people hate them as well because of that feral thing.
Right. So they get outside the city, or I guess outside the main strip, and Cooper explains to Lucy that he's aware of the existence of these special vaults, and he's seen them all over the West, the ones that are for the VIPs, the ones that's for the management. All of them he's found has been empty, but he's never found one in Vegas. Now they're going to need something to get past the Deathclaw pack to get at her dad, Hank, who's hiding somewhere in the midst of all this chaos. He points Lucy to the general store where she can get some medicine to help with her buff out addiction, while he points himself to the nearest bar to get fucked up. He does more than get fucked up, what it turns out, but that's the mission at hand.
Yeah, the dick doll is kind of funny too, you know, because whenever she was addicted the first time, that's what I thought of immediately. I was like, well, because you always have a little bit of, at least I do, I always have a bit of a dick doll in my pack or whatever. So
what for? these like recreationally try drugs, or is it just
well, it's like they're buffs, you know what I mean? So they're called chems in the game. So yeah, they give you a buff, and it's usually significant. But if you take the same stronger one a few times in a row, the downside is that you become addicted, and then you get debuffed if you're not on it. So usually, you take an Addictol so that you don't have to keep popping one to just be normal anymore, just because they're not necessarily everywhere, like readily available.
Yeah. There's some other color in the scene. There's a man with a placard walking down, offering people to beat him up for 5 caps. I guess that's it's a living, as they say in the Flintstones.
Yeah, they have that. You could also see, if you look closely on the street there, you could see that they had the King's School of Impression. I don't remember exactly what the title, but it's basically the kings that were outside the gate last week, the guys that looked like Elvis.
Oh, it's Elvis School?
Yeah, that's basically the story on them. They squatted in a building that was the King's School of Impersonation, where they trained, Elvis impersonators.
Hilarious.
So they became they basically followed Elvis's philosophy, I guess you could say, or something like that. So.
Oh yeah, it's like Lilo and Stitch. If you want to model yourself on the on a model citizen, you pick the king. Okay, so at the bar, Cooper shows up to. He shuts down the bartender's small talk and requests a whole bottle of whiskey. Then he reflects on his past, where he traveled to Vegas with his wife on Moldaver's orders to kill Robert House and prevent a nuclear war from starting. Inside a casino where they'll be meeting, the man himself invites Cooper up to the penthouse for a little visit, revealing that House knows Coop is in town to assassinate him. This man's connected.
Yeah, I wonder what the implication of him knowing that is. What was your take on that?
I imagine that he has, if he got into West Tech's T-45 suits, and I took it that he got all of the data from the soldiers' eyes and the ears and all their comms. Mm-hmm. I imagine it wouldn't be very hard for him to get access to that Pip-Boy stuff. Like, Moldover was able to give him a little Bluetooth thing that he's able to plug into his wife, and he was able to spy on her from some distance. I imagine Robert House could do even better. So he might be like, I got some late Westworld Rehoboam vibes, that he's got this algorithm that's predicting the end of the world, and he's trying to fill it full as much data as he can. So he's trying to get all of it. But that's what I got, that he's just, he might have more intelligence than the Five Eyes of the day.
Yeah, because I think that that's all true, and I think the idea of just stealing the data through the Pip-Boy certainly makes a lot of sense. I do wonder about Hank. Because of that call in the first or second episode where he was calling someone that we didn't know for sure who it was.
Yeah, but he had this really passive aggressive, fearful, commanding kind of like, "Hey boss, I miss you, but also you're gonna." It's very carrot stick type of dialogue with this guy,
and a lot of the details that he says there, what makes it sound like he's talking to Robert House.
Yeah,
who
that's what Barb's I took.
Assistant shouldn't really have, like, he should, like, if he was like the other buds that we met.
Yeah.
Right. He shouldn't have any connection to Robert House.
Again, I don't know nothing from nothing, but what I'm getting out of this is there was some kind of junior executive hostile takeover of Vault Tech, or some kind of parasitic regime running within it underneath Bud and Hank and all these guys, because they're really low level guys in the company, but somehow they were enabled to inherit the Earth. I'm not clear exactly what is going on that, but like that's my sense of it, that there was a secret organization within these companies who were working together to develop this vault behind everybody's backs, underneath everybody's noses, and maybe Robert House is the puppet of that, or You know, if you take him
Yeah,
at his
well-
word in this episode, he was trying to protect at least one part of the United States from extinction.
Yeah, that's one of the things that was confusing a lot of people who were familiar with New Vegas, was this idea that Moldaver put forward that he would be the one to push the button.
Really? Okay.
Which is like completely contradictory to his idea of trying to protect Vegas. Right.
I do really like the idea that of all the cities you could possibly save in America, it's like, you know, if your house is burning down, you got to run in and get one thing. Do you get your wedding photos? Do you get your baby books? The one thing Robert House wants to save of America is Las Vegas. That is really funny to me.
It's a quick way to scare up some cash, get some people to come in and gamble, I guess, right?
Yeah, even the apocalypse
house
people
always
are gonna
wins.
The house always
You
wins.
literally can't lose.
That's the other thing, is that he's pausing, because that's the other thing is I guess I'm preconditioned to think that everything that Robert House says is a lie. But if I do take him at his word, there is a bigger bad than him somewhere out there pulling the strings that he doesn't even have a handle on, which was interesting.
And it's interesting how you say you're sort of you sort of take everything he says as a lie. I liked how they flipped that around on Moldaver, because Moldaver has done some questionable things, but for the most part, you would think, this is the way I would interpret it, that you would believe what she says is more correct than
she seems
than the
righteous.
than the corporate overlords, right? Like you would take her word over theirs. But in this case, House is telling the truth. I'm thinking, you know.
Long-time Bald Move fans, or just fans of quality prestige television, probably recognize the bartender, or you're probably like, where have I seen that guy before? Edwin Lee Gibson.
That's what I was doing. I was like, I know him from something.
Yeah, Pete name checked him. He's Ibrahim from the Bear. The thing about the show is ostensibly about making Italian beef, but it's really about addiction and trauma and long-standing family family issues. Cover. Oh yeah, I love it. I can't. That's another one that I got circled on my calendar for this year. And another, hey, give it up for another show that can come back year in, year out. Don't need 2 years. Don't need 3 years. Didn't take a halt during COVID. They've just been every June. You ring the bell and they serve you beef. What else did I want to talk about this? So it sounds like that, you know, this is a story they've been building. The Robert House has got this kind of like shadow government where he's like, the U.S. government can't do anything. We need real businessmen. And he's called all of the businessmen from the big companies, Big Mountain, Robco, Vault. Is it Big Mountain or Big Montana or Big MT? Is it just Big MT?
Big Mountain.
Big Mountain. Okay. Robco, Vault Tech, and West Tech, they're all coming to Vegas to try to see if they can figure out how to make peace in the world while Washington's pissing up a rope up in Moscow or whatever. And that's this industry meetup is where they're going to hand off the cold fusion device. Lots of protesters. We see there's a lot of unrest. There's a lot of people fed up with the system, but they are being put off by government goons. You know, we saw the last unbought senator getting getting thrown out.
What's she doing there?
I'm guessing she's what she's saying, that she's probably she's the only one still asking questions and wanting to get justice for constituents. And she went there as a, Vegas. With the mistaken belief that as a congressperson, she could get access to, essentially any place in the United States, just to monitor or to look into it. And she got tossed out on her ass.
Yeah, that's why I wondered a little bit if it might be staged, because she they threw her on the ground right in front of Coop, right?
Interesting. So, and because she was speaking whenever House showed up in the bathroom, So how far does the staging go back? Yeah. Interesting. So maybe she's not the last unbought.
I have no theory about it whatsoever or anything, but it's a weird detail because she was kind of a throwaway character. And the thing that stood out to me was like, why did they make this point about her being anti-corporate for someone that's just going to play this really minor role and then fumble around with these, like that was the extent of her role, basically, was to fumble around with some index cards. But they made the point of she was the last senator or state representative or whatever she was that didn't take corporate money.
And I feel like if she is the people's champion, the people is in trouble. You know, it's like that. Look at my lawyer dog. I'm going to jail. Like look at my representative dog. I'm going to a death camp, or I'm going to get nuked, because she just doesn't seem like she's got it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that there might be more going on there, but I don't know.
Other interesting developments. We saw a little bit of this in the Hollywood circle, that Cooper started to feel frozen out by his association of Vault Tech, but now it's gone to the popular culture. Like he is getting cans and tomatoes. He got called a sellout by, you know, these people who are looking up to Cooper, and now he's bought in with his thumb and his dumb blue jumpsuit. And Hank presumably
Barb sold him out a bit.
Presumably Hank has got the cold fusion device strapped to his wrist, or they want me to think that, and it's completely different. But that's my assumption, is this thing, you know, like he's all nuclear footballed up with this attaché case. I think it's got to be the cold fusion tech.
Yeah, that's the implication. It's either that or a decoy, you know what I mean? Because that's what they're there for, and that's why he has that.
Because the other thing I say is, like, why would you want to draw attention to it? We know how small this thing is, that when you plug it into, it's like you could put it into a pill bottle and have it in Barb's purse. And security through obscurity is not everything, but, you know, handcuffing it to Hank's wrist ain't everything either. So I just thought that was interesting to have this huge case, but maybe it's radioactive and they just don't give a shit in the Fallout future because everything's radioactive. Yeah.
Everything's a little bit radioactive.
Yeah. But like I said, House immediately eyeballs him. And I'm also glad they didn't do a whole bunch of fake House, real House. They just dismissed that right away.
Yeah, I really like the way that I really like the way that they did that. You know, Mr. House would like to see you, because we find it out at the exact same time the character finds it out, you know?
Yeah. Meanwhile, in a vignette that seems completely unconnected to the action, we see our snake oil salesman, the guy that Jim affectionately calls the chicken fucker. He doesn't just...
That's not slander. That apparently that's real thing that the guy does.
Dude fucks chickens. Not just that, he also is amorous towards robots, and he sidles up to one.
Not
tries to romance her
either.
Oh yeah, we're gonna. I don't know anything about the lore, but I know about acronyms, and when they were listing out their name, I'm like, Fisto, Fisto. Oh yeah. Oh, so he's romancing Fisto, and then Hank comes up, and eventually he's going to turn him into a robot. Kind of ironic. Mm-hmm. It's a fully integrated security technotronic officer, Fisto.
Yeah, that's from a side quest, and it was kind of this is like, I don't even know if anybody else is paying attention to this, but it was interesting to me that, because I just played New Vegas right before the season came out, and it's interesting to me that they used the actual design from that for this. Like it's a straight, because in the newer games, the Protectrons, the robots of that style look different, but this one is exactly like the one that you encounter in a side quest, where this guy is like sending you out. He's like, yeah, I need to get a sexual pleasure robot for that, so I can make some money in the thing, but it's like obviously for him, like he wants He wants the robot.
He's asking for a friend.
Yeah, and whenever you first encounter Fisto, they're like, oh, you should, like, it comes out of its little thing, and it's like, you should try this. You should, let me do my job or whatever. I can't remember. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah, but eventually the dialogue makes you say, okay, I'll try it out, and it just sort of cuts to black, and an hour passes off of your in-game clock or whatever.
Do you take grievous red level damage to the lower half of your body? Or is that what?
I think it actually makes you feel better. Like, I think it actually is restorative, but I'm not sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, but you get the implication from the name of what's going on there.
Yeah, don't knock until you try it, I guess. There's some funny dialogue here, but once Hank gets him back to the lab, back to his underground office compound, there's a lot of, I mean, they don't draw a lot of attention to it. Like if you're one of those people watching on yourself or, you know, messing with your cell phone while you're watching, you could have missed this entirely. But as he's driving around, they swing around and you see 2 cryo capsules that are labeled Barbara and Janie Cooper. And that is, of course, the family that the ghoul's been wandering the wasteland for 200 years trying to find.
Yeah, that was a big. I was really happy that they finally did that.
Yeah.
I think in the first season you could have wondered if they were in Vault 33. But at this point, you know that that's not a. Yeah. I mean, you knew before they actually thawed everyone that wasn't really the case, that there was something else going on there. So I think it was time to make that they are alive. They're both alive, because there's still a bit of a question of how his daughter got back with Barb, since she was with him when the bombs dropped.
Right.
But yeah, they're there, they're safe, and Hank has them essentially.
I've always assumed that there is something that like Hooper was riding hellbent for leather to the last vault, and that's like, you know, somehow, but like, again, I'm trying to make this, it's like I'm at the eye doctor and I'm trying to make both my eyes focus. On the one hand, Cooper seems like he hates Barb and everything she stands for, tries to get Janie away from him, and it looks like they're separated right before the bomb drops. But on the other hand, family's a fucked up thing, and now he's being accused of maybe hastening and you know, maybe he decided if the world's going to end, maybe I backed the one maybe I danced with the one I brung, you know?
Yeah, I came out of this episode wondering if he actually knows. Like, is he trying to find Barb because he wants to be with his family, or is he trying to find Barb to make sense out of the situation?
Oh, maybe he's got some short-term memory loss that he doesn't really know.
Maybe it's just the way that it played out. He couldn't be. I mean, I think he loves Janie no matter what. So I think 100%. That works no matter what. Even if he's just trying to get Janie from Barb at the end. I don't think that's the way they're going, but I mean, that would work. But yeah, I kind of like the idea that, I mean, I don't know if you want to skip to talking about it or wait for a second until we get to that part, but
yeah, let's just move on. The other thing to note about this scene is that Hank has perfected the miniaturized, more powerful brainwave technology. Yeah. And it's kind of funny how they prep you to like, oh, this guy's going to get, he's enjoying it because he's got this weird, you know, it's pretty much the millennials and Zoomers have got this kind of like death culture. Like I see all the time they post on TikToks, like a scene from Final Destination where the logs are falling off, and instead of being horrified, they just kind of like close their eyes like, oh, thank God it's over. The chicken fuckers like that. He's like, do you know, you're going to keep you're just going to essentially turn you into a robot. You're not going to remember anything. He's like, oh God, yes, please. I want to sign up. And I
thought that was so much fun.
Yeah. The way and they pan over and you're just waiting for the blood to shoot against the window, and he survives.
Nope. Hank has been busy down there, and he's figured it out. Like that was one of the things in the first part of the seasons. Like, I had no idea what he was trying to do with that. It just seemed like he was just cranking it up and blowing up things' heads.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing in those scenes that made me say, oh, okay, he's adjusting his, it just seemed like, no, I'm just going to crank this bitch all the way up.
And these junior execs, like, did he have that training beforehand, or is this something that he picked up in his 20 years? I'm assuming he's, you know, in his 50s, 60s. He's been unfrozen 30, 40 years.
I think all of this stuff, and I do want to ask you a question here in a second, but I think all of this stuff points that there's way more to Hank than meets the eye, right? There has to be. If you compare him to like Claudia, who Norm's running around the wasteland with now, or even Ronnie, who is way more of a dark, like those people were his coworkers. And I know Hank was alive for 30 years. You know, he woke up 30 years ago or whatever, but he was inside the vault almost the whole time. So like, he's different from them, is he not?
No, I mean, him and like Betty, like, you know, presumably Betty was just as shitty as they all, but like something about being in the vault and feeling like you got abandoned by, I guess, Vault Tech or whatever the Bud Project is. It seems like they've changed them. Like Betty is no longer,
at minimum, I would say,
as maniacal, I guess, as what you would say that like a Bud or a young Hank was.
All right. So the question that I wanted to ask you was, because like when we watch the first 2 episodes, because I do the podcast with Popcorn for Dinner too, and when we were talking about the the first couple of episodes, you know, that montage of Hank was really fun, right? And it sort of backed up this idea that he was just a company man. You know, that he was just a guy who loved to go into the office and climb the ladder, right?
Right.
Do
kind of a midwit
necessary.
though. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but everything past that is I don't know that it's really consistent with that, because the question I wanted to ask you was, whenever we see the Shady Sands thing play out.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you as something that one of Bud's buds would do as a part of their directive?
Well, they don't want any competition, right? So I guess if you know, like they want to be the thing that brings back civilization in their image. So I thought it tracked.
Okay, because I thought that seemed a little bit outside of. I thought that felt like it was a little bit something else. You know what I mean? Like, of course, you have the idea that
it could be a spurned lover thing.
Yeah, his wife left him. But if you look at the way that he is towards Lucy, and the thing that he said about family in the last episode before he blew up the rich guy's head, it seems like there's something else going on with Hank. That's where I'm at, because, you know, he's close to Barb, and Barb is the one that I'm really not sure about. Like, somebody's doing something, right?
Yeah.
Like, we know that. Robert House tells us that in this episode, but I'm not sure if it's Hank or if it's Barb.
Let's check in on Norm, because he's following his junior executive Vault Tech disciples, son of Hank, to the Vault Tech headquarters. Inside, they find her old friend from Philly, Mama June, with her partner, tending to a roach farm they got going. She tells him the same thing she told his sister last season, which is essentially, go home, Vaulty. You're not built for this world. Yeah,
and she's right to a certain extent. She's been out there.
And but I don't know. Seeing how well Lucy's done, I feel like, you know, I was thinking that Norm was going to be...
She has the ghoul with her. Don't forget about that.
True. And, you know, by the end of this episode, Norm's going to be choked out by a PC power cable. So he's not looking. But again, Lucy got sold into medical spare part slavery at the same point in the season. So, well, everyone needs a little help, right? No man's an island.
And she did get out of that situation herself.
Yeah.
So I guess I shouldn't, like, the ghoul sold her out, and she came out on top. So
the other thing the scene is, it reinforces a certain amount of callousness and pettiness about the junior executives, because they're making fun of this, secretary. Her corpse, her wizened corpse is sitting there at the desk, and she's like, making fun of her. She's a dead end career, and talking about how gross everything is.
That felt really like, I don't know if you ever had a job like that, but that felt like really, that felt true to life, you know, like that. Sure. These people are all strivers. So they're like, the way that they spend their downtime is talking shit on other people doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
No, they're not really human prizes that we're dealing with here. So back to Lucy. She sees the drug flushing agent when she goes to check it out at a general store. Woo! Price has gone way up. Inflation's hit New Vegas hard. She no longer has enough caps for it, so she heads into the back entrance and tries her hand at the 5-finger discount. She then has a run-in with the proprietor and has cause to wonder who and what she's become. Also, asterisk, she now owns what I think is called a power fist.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So I've made this. I've been talking to my Warhammer bros and sisters in just as an aside. So we got power hammers, power fists, powered armor. This is Warhammer 2K is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, but I know that these kind of weapons. These aren't ones that I would generally ever use.
Oh yeah, not a big melee guy.
Yeah, but they have their origins in like other industries, and then they become weapons. They become militarized later. Like the sledgehammer was made for other things that you use a sledgehammer for, and then it was sort of weaponized later on in its existence. I don't know about the power fist. That might have always been about punching people really hard, but
with this and the fisto, they're just really in the energetic fists in this show, I guess.
Well, I thought was hilarious. The whole, I mean, the going through the trading post or whatever, the Sunny Sundries was funny. That's obviously something you do like in every game that you've ever played. Stop off at a thing,
shopkeeper,
when he came down the stairs, I was like, oh, his clothes are kind of funny. You know what I mean? And then you see the naked guy in the bucket, and then you see the picture. Like the whole way that played out was freaking hilarious.
And also the whole subtext of Lucy has become like, that's what she did. She walked in off the street to rob this place, ran into the shopkeep and had to kill him because obviously he wasn't cool with what she's doing. and then a lady comes in and she's like, Lucy from last year. Oh my God, what's going on here? And she's like, Jesus, what have I become?
Yeah. Yeah, that part was a little on the nose, but the whole scene was pretty good, and I thought I think it sets up what happens later as well. The best part about the Sunny thing though was when he like you're pretty sure that she's putting the story together, but then he says. Lots of people do it about robbing a store naked, and then
Isn't
you realize
weird?
that he came into the store naked.
That's
and
why he's wearing the other guy's clothes, right?
Clothes. I thought that was really funny, and like I said, there's a lot there that's straight from the games. As
let me ask you this, because like the stim kit's going way up. It reminded me because a lot of video games, as your character gets more powerful. It becomes hard to like give you a challenge. So a lot of times they'll have like some kind of made up reason in the game that like once you get level 20, now everything in the shop costs twice as much because you're essentially walking around with a bunch of money and nothing's a threat anymore. So, I know like Bloodborne does that. I think a lot of the Resident Evil games do that, where it's like you get halfway through the story and now if you were buying what is it, like green weed for 50, now it's green weed for 500. Is it similar in that, or is this just the Deathclaws running?
I don't know what the in-universe reasoning for that is. I mean, I don't think it was saying that the guy changed it. I think that it was the price had changed before, but I don't know. I don't know if there was a reason. I can't think of. I can't really think of a situation where the prices just arbitrarily go up at a certain level or something like that. But that may exist. I mean, there are a bunch of games, and I didn't play them all recently. So,
and I think Deathclaws rampaging through half of the city would cause some kind of supply disruption.
That could have something to do with it, yeah.
Yeah, especially with bullets. And because it seemed like there's a lot of stuff that's unaffected, but like bullets, medicine, and cartons of cigarettes have just gone through the roof.
And I think part of that, it might just be that they're saying that with the like if the NCR was in charge of the strip, or if Legion was in charge of the strip, the supply lines would be open. But maybe the Deathclaws have no reason to promote commerce, because that was one of House's. That was one of the reasons why how House got protection because he had those robots and stuff like that, but he didn't have like the NCR was like a huge organization before it got, before Shady Sands, and the Legion also was pretty formidable. So for him, the way he worked with the balance of power was that he cut deals. And one of the things with because Ibrahim kind of mentions it earlier about the taxes and stuff. One of the things that the NCR did that made them fall out of favor was they started charging taxes because it was this big bureaucratic, militarized operation that needed, gear and provisions and everything else. So they started offering protection, but then they also started charging taxes. So people weren't really all that into that after being,
some things never change.
Yeah.
War never changed. Tax, how people feel about the government just taking money out of their wallet never changes.
Yeah, so House made the free economic zone, that was the strip, but then you would basically come in there and gamble away all your money to him.
So it's self-serving.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going back to the ghoul, and he's having himself a little night to remember here with his bottle of whiskey, and he moves the party up to a more private location. He gets a room upstairs. There he thinks back to meeting House again in Vegas before the bombs drop, and in this vision, Mr. House reveals that he has fingers on all the world's technology and has used it to predict the end of the world. He needs Barb's cold fusion technology so he can transfer to a robot body and live forever, is what I think I got out of his ravings here.
That's what he said, yeah.
Yeah. He talks about some mysterious connections with his wife and daughter and how they're connected to the whole Armageddon thing coming. He denies that he's the one that's trying to end it all. And then he has what I thought was hysterically claims that Cooper himself might have something to do with the apocalypse. Cooper runs out of the penthouse to drown himself in alcohol. And after he gets good and properly fucked up, Barb comes to collect him, take him back to her room to take care of him. But he's got something heavy to lay on her first.
Yeah, that whole idea of what was the actual words that he used? He said, "I don't think you're a cowboy at all. I think you're a killer." Right?
Yeah. It's just funny because he's an actor. He's not either of those things. Although I guess, he was a soldier. He did kill people. So maybe that's his truest calling, he's saying.
Yeah, but there was a ton of... I mean, first of all, gotta love the performances here. Justin Theroux is a great addition to this cast. I really liked watching him go here. But yeah, there's a bunch of revelations here, right? I mean, like I said, the Moldaver thing is probably false. That was probably never Mr. House's plan. Now, we don't know if that is something that she would have known and she was purposely misleading Coop or what, you know what I mean? This idea that he can crunch the numbers and basically do psychohistory, right? He can foresee the future based on a thing. And like when I'm talking about what I'm saying, all these things that I'm saying, you have to understand that in the timeline of the show, in the timeline of canon, 15 years ago, one of the most popular video games out there took place, and Mr. House was a major character in that game, right? So there's a part of the history that's far ahead of this meeting, because this meeting takes place before the bombs dropped, that people have a lot of feelings about. And that is, as far as what they said is hands off as far as the canon's concerned or whatever.
I thought it was interesting that NCR, I guess I thought he's some kind of ranger robot, but he's the cowboy Victor robot. He's in the same chassis as the other kind of outside RoboCop goons. He must be property of Mr. House, no?
Yes, and he said that whenever he Like that was whenever
I knew he
we
knew
saw him,
but
in
I
the
didn't.
NCR.
Yeah. I didn't know he said I am Mr. But I knew he knew of Mr. House. But
Well, yeah, Coop said it. He said the man who made you. He said the only one who wins in Vegas is the man who made you.
But I thought that was a general, like he's Robot Co. So he's made this line. But no, this is like more Anakin Skywalker made C-3PO kind of term.
Yeah, well, the thing about Victor is that in Fallout New Vegas, he's like one of the first main characters you meet out in the wasteland, out in the Mojave. You know what I mean? So like he's sort of like the game's character that introduces you to like the quests and things like that. You know, he's like one of the first people you meet. So that's why they're playing on him. But then you do meet him again when you go back to Vegas and you find out that he was Mr. House made him. He was like his personal Securitron kind of thing.
You said we found out a lot of new information in this scene, and I want to kind of run down some of it. We already talked about that. Somehow Mr. House wants to, become an immortal robot. That he denies that he's the one that is trying to initiate the nuclear war. He says that there is a date, April 14th, 2065 at 5:17 a.m., where his calculator first spit out that the world's going to end, and that is the exact date and time Janie was born.
Yeah, I don't really know what to make of that one, because it's like that doesn't make me think that Coop or Barb would have anything to do with.
It's like Janie's the Antichrist.
Yeah, for now
it's all for you, Janie, as the world blows up.
Yeah. And Coop sort of seems surprised about it when it actually happens. Like, don't forget, we saw the bombs drop and Coop was at a birthday party with Janie.
True. Interesting. Not her birthday party, but it's
her
interesting
birthday either.
that it's connected. Yeah.
They would have definitely probably mentioned that whenever they were, she was eating birthday cake and things like that.
The other thing is
to be her birthday.
The spreadsheet that he's running that calculates into the world, he revealed that when Cooper bought this ticket to go with his wife to Vegas, that date jumped forward a month of when the apocalypse is going to occur. Which plants Cooper as a central figure in all this. If he's complicit or not, whatever he's doing is mucking up the timeline.
Yeah, also hard to figure out how that, works into what we know. That seems, I don't know. I guess maybe that was like, really? You got it down that close? Mm-hmm. But that does sort of go back to something that's from the game. So I think that's why, if that seems like maybe like his tech is a little too advanced, that's not something that the show is doing on their own. That's something that is kind of paying homage to who he was in the game.
At some point, he walks over to this control panel and he flips a thing, and this whole, like secret agent style, Batman style panel flips back, and she shows he's got a working cold fusion reactor. He's just waiting for I guess you call it the artifact, the fuel or whatever. But he puts on what I would describe as like looking like the helmet that Doc Brown is wearing when he met Marty in Back to the Future. But no one acknowledges it. Like Cooper doesn't say like, what the fuck is going on with his headgear? And House doesn't say, I'm putting this on to control your mind. He just does it. Was he gearing up to transfer his brain to some kind of electrical right then and there? Or since his sales pitch got cut short, I don't know.
Yeah, that's something that I can't comment on. But
mildly interesting.
It's mildly interesting what you're saying there.
Gotcha.
But the big thing here is that this guy obviously knows everything as much as he could. Like when he says I'm an Apex competitor, like you understand that he's not making stuff up. Like that's a real thing that he is, right? Yeah. And the big thing here is that somebody else developed the Deathclaw that we saw last episode.
The demon in the snow. He was aware of it and he declaims responsibility for it.
And he doesn't know who's behind that.
Right. If you can believe him, which again, I came in essentially considering everything he's saying with a grain of salt. But this sends Cooper into, like, you can see, like, maybe this is a cycle that, like, he comes out of that meeting desperately drinking, he's shook, and it's there's this kind of flashback forward that the Joys and Nolans have used in Westworld, and they're combining timelines where he's drinking in the past and the present simultaneously.
Yeah. And they I don't think it's in this part, but they also have the score also, it definitely hits some Westworld feelings too.
Yeah, Jawadi sometimes does run home the Westworld on this show. I've noticed I've called it out a couple other times, but
yeah, I noticed it a few episodes back, but in this one it was really there, which is not a bad thing. I'm not complaining.
No. Yeah, like, John Williams, sometimes, you can only write so many awesome kick-ass marches before some elements run into other, but yeah. Are you ready? Because this is a meaty scene. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what do you make of the alcohol use? Is that just a normal reaction for a guy who's in a situation that he can't? He's in a fucked up situation.
It's an understandable reaction, but anytime you're doing an addiction, you're doing a self-medication, you are trying to unplug your brain from stimulus that you don't want to process, and it's usually bad. If you're the only person that can save the world, getting blotto is not good. It's understandable. It's understandable that you'd want to do that, but it's not good.
Yeah, and I guess what I was wondering when I was watching this, especially the way it was cut, was what does that tell us about the guy? Because Cooper Howard he no longer exists, right? He's now the ghoul. So that's what I was wondering. Like, what does that tell us about the ghoul?
It also goes back to, like, the ghoul, when he first met him and Lucy shot him that dart gun. He's like, that's just a small drop in the ocean of drugs that's swimming in my body. And I took that, like, he takes this because it preserves his life. But when he had free reign of the medicine supermarket, he went on a fucking bender.
Yeah, that was a bender.
Yeah, so I think he's an addict. It's not just to stave the ghoul away.
And he was certainly happy he was certainly happy to see that Lucy was one of their ranks whenever she had her 2-day drip of buff out, right?
Yeah, he's like, yeah, she can wallow in the mud with him a bit. He says, like, there's two schools of thought. One, you can not do drugs and go through all this withdrawal, or two, you can do more drugs. And that seems like has been his consistent choice from this point forward.
Yeah, and to be fair, like in the game, in some of the games, like when you can play as a ghoul, like ghouls don't really need food like the human characters, but they do need regular chem intake. So like if you want to keep up your health bar or whatever, you have to just eat drugs basically.
Okay, I see.
Radiation does the same thing, you know what I mean? But it's just one of those maintenance kind of
things.
They
actually like take in radiation like plants take in sunlight? Is that kind of...
Yeah, like you can go, because like obviously when you're running around in a nuclear wasteland, there's
obviously
there, and the other thing about the Fallout universe is that they use nuclear power for everything. Like they never really... The transistor never really. There's a couple.
Right,
of
they're all using vacuum tubes and.
Yeah. So one of the things they use is they use like mini nuclear reactors for everything. So there's nuclear waste everywhere that you can discover.
I see. Interesting.
But one other thing about this situation was he said he could see through this. You mentioned it a couple times. See through his T-45 power armor. Yeah. So. The way you interpreted that was that it gave him this chance to know that the Deathclaw existed and that he wasn't privy to who was ever. And then the other part you thought that was towards was the idea that he might be collecting data in that way.
Yeah. And we know his surrogate was sitting in on the meeting with Barb last year when they're talking about all this stuff. So it's like, you know, he doesn't even need espionage from there. He just has a set of ears in the building, you know? But,
yeah, because if you think about it, Bud, he started his career working, and we know that he started his career working for West Tech because Cooper calls him out about the problems that the T-45 had. Right. So that's another connection there.
Interesting.
You know, and the other thing about that is, I don't know why, but the whole idea of the soldier saying "okie dokie" in the last episode, and that going on to becoming
Lucy's catchphrase.
Like, I don't know why, but that didn't seem random to me.
There's a couple other non-random things I want to talk about this next scene if we're ready to move on. The junior executive team is fanning through Vault Tech's headquarters, and the burly Ronnie, that's kind of like the take charge guy, commandeers a small team to get the comms working because they got to talk to the investors. Norm checks on Claudia, who you'll recall is the new hired. It's essentially got hired last week, and you know now she's here. Who tearfully confesses to missing
Claudia.
Huh?
I said cool hair Claudia.
Cool hair Claudia.
Yeah,
she tearfully confesses to missing her family and friends and claims the entire team is nuts. She offers to take Norm to the boss's office, ran by a lady by the name of Barb Cooper. He uses her terminal to look up info on Vault Tech's forced evolutionary virus, but doesn't get very far before an enraged Ronnie, who's overheard him admitting he's not Bob's rightful successor, chokes him out with a power cable. The one thing I didn't say is that Claudia picks up a picture of Janie and gets a really weird look on her face before she quickly puts it back down. I'm this close to postulating a crazy theory. You know what? I'm actually that close. I just pinched my fingers together. Is Claudia Janie? I can't help but notice they seem very similar facial coloring or skin coloring, hair. You know, if I squint, I can see like, okay, I could see Janie grow, but like a lot of the other timelines don't work. And the thing is like, is Claudia a good person or is Claudia like a plant to weed out false Bud disciples? Because I don't know, man. There's something hinky about the way this interaction went down.
So the forced evolutionary virus, like that means nothing to you, right?
Absolutely not. Yeah, I have no idea.
So that's
the only
not
FIV
the case
I'm aware of is feline immunodeficiency virus, and it's a scourge to cats everywhere. So FEV in this universe means something different.
So any speculation that I put forward on this and what's going on here would be colored by the mention of the forced evolutionary virus and I'm the guessing other clues that
connected
have been,
to the Deathclaw is what I'm guessing.
Which I think is a fair assumption to make. You know, that's mildly interesting. But like for me, I guess what you're saying about Claudia, like who she is, like I don't think she's Janie. I mean,
yeah,
I think that you know that's possible.
Probably, the timelines don't match up at all. Like how would she live for another 10, 15 years post bomb drop and then get frozen and then get transferred to that? And yeah, the thing that surprised me about her, and I thought that they really kind of drew some attention to this last week, was the idea that she'd only been at Vault Tech for a week. Right. If what Bud was trying to do was ideological, or if not, maybe not, that's not exactly the correct term, but he wanted to make these perfect people and the perfect office workers, future managers, personally loyal to him. How would he be putting people that have only been at the job for a week? What doesn't make sense. He knows nothing about them. Right. So to me, that indicates that his plan, there's another layer to his plan somewhere. The other thing is like because she is attractive, and I look at some of the other, and I I've always had, even early in last season, before they kind of like let on what's going on, I'm like, this is some kind of breeding experiment that they're like, they're trying to breed the ultimate something. And every once in a while they clear out the other vault to make room for another generation of what. But is it like at the last minute, Bud's like, we need some breeding stock. So let's get some young, healthy, viral young men and women here that aren't going to know anything about anything. But we'll just use them for breeding stock.
Which is what they're saying about 31 and 32 is that those,
right.
32 and 33, that those are breeding stock for 31, who has the people that they expect to be his immediate successors. And like he's gone on to say that he's waiting for there to be no one on the surface so that they can basically have it all to themselves. Yeah. So he's putting a lot of faith. He put his brain into a jar or whatever, and put it on top of a Roomba, and
now it's upside down in a bucket.
Yeah, but I mean, he wasn't going to be there in human form to be able to enjoy this. So he's putting his legacy in these people's hands, and then we find out she's only been there for like a week, and it's not the same for all of them. Obviously, we see the other ones in Vegas in this episode doing. Talking to Hank and things like that, or at least at the airport. I don't know if they were in Vegas or not.
So now I'm going down the path as like, is Bud just trying to do a shittier version of Robert House? Because Robert House wants to transfer his body into a robot body so he can live and protect forever. So Bud turns his brain into a bucket because he doesn't have that technology. And like, is there's a glimmer of an idea that like the other adversary is just Bud run amok, and since he's running outside of normal channels and all that it's just not on House's radar? Or
where I'm at with it after this and just thinking about it for the last few days is that I think we can take Bud at his word on what he wants to do. That he wants to create this group of super... What I think that he calls them, I think that Norm says that, right? He's a super manager, right?
Yeah.
That's been bred of 200 years from the right stock or whatever. So I think we can take him at his word that he does want to create super managers for the future that Vault Tech is in charge of. But I don't think we can take him at his word for his methods.
Well, the other thing,
something else going on there.
If we, I'm putting the forced evolutionary virus and I'm kind of putting combinations in my head. The other thing is if, Claudia and her ilk, if there's others like her are not breeding stock, maybe they're experimental subjects, but they knew they'd need a couple of people to just same way Hank's going through his mice and his VIP stock. Like it could be that they're just, but I don't know. There's something a little sinister about her. I don't like the way she picked up that photo and looked at Janie. She seemed like she knows more than what she's
I didn't pick up
saying.
on that. I'll have to go back and look at that because that wasn't something that
she picks it up in his Barb's office. Of course, she's got a picture of Janie, and she looks at it, and then it cuts back to her face, and she makes this kind of like, it's not quite disgust, it's not quite eye roll, it's not quite dismissal. It's a very interesting.
I mean,
look.
she is being presented as like a nice change of everyone else that's in there, right? So it could be that kind of situation where she is actually the smart one that knows what's going on, and she's playing Norm because he's the guy who's leading them around the Los Angeles at this point.
It's important that they wanted us to know that Norm is not dead. Like, this guy chokes him to the point in a lot of movies you'd assume he's dead, but as he lets go, you can hear Norm let this kind of like shuddering. He's still breathing, so he's knocked out cold, but he's not dead.
How do you figure this changes things going forward?
I don't know, because I would have thought Lucy would have had to be saved by the ghoul last year, and then they judo flipped it on me, and she just moved her shoulder at the right time for the chop to go through her. So I guess maybe he can, I believe he can outwit this guy. I don't think he can outfight this guy, but I think he can outwit these people, son of Hank, but we'll see. That's sort of his
MO, right? That's sort of like, he's the one who he's the one who's snooping around, hacking into the terminals, doing things like that. He uses cunning instead of his physical traits or whatever.
Yeah. It's funny because like I'm sure it's a role playing game, so you can probably do that, right? You can probably go for a character that's brainy and charismatic, or someone who's just a bruiser, dim,
Yeah, there's that whole special system where you put your points into strength, perception, endurance.
Ronnie
charisma,
put all his in
intelligence, whatever,
Ronnie put all his in brawn, I'm thinking, and maybe some
strength.
charisma, because he's a natural leader. Like that's the thing that I noticed right away is like Norm's already lost control of this group. Like Ronnie's not saying, "Hey boss, what should we do?" He's just immediately saying, "You go here with me." The comms. He's like Norm.
Yeah, you're supposed to pick up on that, right?
Yeah. Norm's been cut out. So, anything else to talk about this? Because we're about to go into the big finish.
No, I think. I'm really I like the Norm story, so I'm very curious to see where this goes now. Like I was like, wait, is he killing him? He's like how does he not die here? You know what I mean? And then he just lets him go. So I thought that was a pretty interesting place to leave things.
Makes Ronnie.
Like, I'm gonna let you know that I can kill you, but I'm not gonna kill you,
right? Which automatically makes Ronnie way more smart than I thought he would be, because an idiot kills someone without knowing the whole story. A smart person disables
he sees that
them
there's some value
and
in
interrogates
keeping him around.
Yeah, like I know you're not who you say you are, but who the hell are you? And I need to find out because that's important. That's smarter than I gave Ronnie credit for last episode when I saw him eating dry spaghetti.
And I need to choke you to within an inch of your life so you know that I can do it again in case you try to take me out. So it's an interesting development for sure.
So we're going to check back in with Lucy and the ghoul for a final time. Lucy purges the drugs out of her system with the help of a dick doll and then heads to meet the ghoul at his hotel. The ghoul is suspiciously gentle with her, and she finds out that he's been visited by the now mind-controlled chicken fucker, dressed in junior executive attire. He explains that he's been sent to trade the safety of Cooper's wife and daughter, safely sleeping in cryo, in return for the ghoul taking Lucy back to her vault to safely ride out whatever Hank is trying to cook up with his improved miniaturized mind control units. The ghoul shoots Lucy with a tranquilizer dart, but he underestimates her grit as she manages to power fist him out the upper story window of the hotel, and he's impaled on a pole on the sidewalk below. She passes out. Kebabbed. Sometime later, Hank shows up at her room, greets his little sugar bomb before she passes back out again. So poor Lucy, she is now another item in someone's inventory. She has become the MacGuffin.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, this isn't technically the deal the ghoul set up. The ghoul presumably said, "I'll take Lucy back and get her into the vault in exchange for you having some guarantee." Well, now the ghoul's dead. He can't take her back to the vault. Well, I don't think he's dead.
They didn't play it like it was really his death. I didn't think at all when I was watching it.
Well, the only reason I'd say he's not dead is because he's the ghoul. But like, he looked pretty fucked up, and I don't know how he gets off of there without someone else help. Like, I don't believe he's going to lift himself off. I don't think he's going to push himself down and cut it free. Like, he's going to need somebody to get him off there.
Yeah, like the first time I watched it, I was like, that's unfortunate. That's going to hurt. That's going to be difficult for him to get. And then when I went back to look, like, they made it so there's just really no way for him to get off of that by himself.
He's like 10, 15 foot off the ground.
Yeah. Because I was talking about that with someone who watched it, and I was just like, so what do you think the point of that is? Because, and that's what we came up with, was that it's the exact situation where he's incapacitated in a way where he needs someone else to help him get free.
I thought it was really analogous to the scene where we meet him, where like occasionally the ghoul will get himself in a situation where he's not dead, but he's incapacitated, like he's buried underground with a slow drip of medicine, just barely alive. Now he's up in the so to me, like, you might not be able to kill the ghoul, but you can, bury him in cement for a couple decades. You might be able to leave him on a pool. Now, this is a city, so I imagine someone will come along and, get his body off there just for, you don't want it out in front of your in front of your casino, but I don't know. I feel like this is how he's going to meet Robert House, maybe.
Robert House in the future.
Yeah. But there's got to be some, he's got to get past these Deathclaws, and if he's incapacitated and he just is captured, that's one way you could do it. And then Lucy's out, but I also don't know what Hank's going to do with Lucy, because I don't think he wants her around him. I don't think he wants her to see him in the midway stage of his plan. I think he wants her to enjoy the fruits of whatever his labors are going to be, but he doesn't want her to see her dad at work, That's what
he says. That's what. And just to like, I guess we could say that the chicken fucker, he looks like this thing is working. It looks like he's doing what he's been told. He still looks a little creepy, but otherwise
he's the chicken.
He's executing the mission that Hank gave him without any issues, right?
Yeah. I have in my notes that he looks okay. Well, he looks like the chicken fucker, but he looks okay for the chicken fucker, right?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think we assume that these little machines are for mind control, and it seems to be working. I mean, a lot better than the guy who was bringing the bomb to Shady Sands.
A lot better than the construction workers that House waylaid. A lot better than the bomb guy that Hank reprogrammed. This is a smash success. Hank considers it so, and it looks like it. So. But where is it going? Is mind controlling the world to where you want to go with this, or
I feel like there's zero chance that Lucy's going to go back to Vault 33.
Oh, of course, that's the least interesting thing she could do.
Yeah, that seems for sure. But I think you're right. I don't think that it really does Hank any favors if she watches him build mind control devices or whatever he's doing there.
And there's no way he can get her on board with that. Maybe the ends justify the means when everything's over, and that's what he's hoping. But she's not going to be down with plugging things into people's spines and erasing their memories. And
yeah, because if you think about the story, I mean, that was something that Moldaver told Coop in the flashback, was that this is a case where the ends justify the means, and he wasn't convinced. So obviously the Ghoul and Lucy have rubbed off on each other at this point.
Right.
So we can imagine that there would be a little bit of that in her reaction to the situation. I would like to throw it out. I mean, I thought that this was a fantastic scene. Everyone involved in it. I thought particularly Ella Purnell was fantastic in this, because she was able to play it both sides. You know what I mean? She has the original, vault dweller, full of propaganda, ready to save the world thing going on, but also the other side. I think that I think when you're watching her face, you see her say okay, of course he's going to trade me for his family. That makes perfect sense. But also, we are becoming friends, and is devastated. So I thought she did a really good job of conveying the complicated emotions that she's going through in that situation.
And just the way they juxtaposed him saying family's a fucked up thing with his, they intercut this with his bender, where he was getting kissed by random women, and then someone talks him into riding a rocket.
He's riding the nuke like Dr. Strangelove style.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. And it's and his wife coming to get him, and him I think this is going to go some dark place where he briefly joins Barb's side because that's his wife, and by God, he's going to stand by her, or he talks her out of it and she joins his side, or I don't know. Cooper's whole character arc took a much darker turn by the end of this episode.
Yeah, it makes me want to go back and really think about what they've told us about pre-war Cooper Howard, right?
Right.
He's a stand-up guy, as a soldier, when he was put in peril, the first thing he wanted to know when Charlie saved him was how are the other guys. Like, I think that's all true story stuff, right? Because we saw him whenever he was in Alaska, he told Charlie to go back against the order.
And Charlie's his good friend. Like, he reflexively defended him from accusations of communism before we even met him. He's like, that's not Charlie. Right. Charlie, why? Yeah, I served with him. No way. Like, I do think they're brothers in arms. Yeah.
But so, yeah, I think that he's the kind of guy that, you can say that when he takes on a cause, he is, he's loyal. But we also know that these things happen. Like his government that he was fighting for sent him out in like some broken ass gear that almost got him killed.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of things. And so even whenever Moldaver and Charlie are making really good arguments, he's still like, but yeah, I'm a Marine. I can't do that. I can't become a pinko for real, So
right.
he's an interesting character that they put him up against the exact things that would be hard for him to overcome in a way. So I wonder how that'll be reflected in what happens to him next, because I think in the end either he has to exit the story or him and Lucy have to reconcile. Like, I don't think there's a version of this where they become enemies in the future seasons or just are completely disconnected, right? So like if this is a multi-series TV show, how do these two end up? And I think that it would make more sense if they were on the same side, but this is a pretty big, they crossed some lines here.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like they put the Ghoul in more of an anti-hero, like more firmly in anti-hero territory, because it's like, he was very late along the Han Solo path last year and early this year. And this is, like, what if Han didn't show up to bail out Luke at the end of Star Wars? He's going a lot more towards a little bit of a darker arc, and I haven't quite got it figured out. But it's like at this point, the party, the role-playing group has fractured as far as it can. Maximus and Lucy and the Ghoul and Norm are all scattered throughout the wasteland. At some point, those things have to gather back together.
Yeah, that's what the whole thing has been going towards, right?
And it might be like they want some friction between Lucy and the Ghoul, so the Ghoul can kind of do his own thing for a while, so they can bring Maximus back into Lucy, because it does seem like they're not in any hurry to get all these people together in a big kumbaya, party.
Yeah, because this is the Vegas phase of this. I do believe that they're planning on just making these as long as they can. Like, they're not like, oh, we got a 3-season story arc in mind or something. Like, I think that if Amazon has their way, that they'll probably keep going with this, because it was pretty darn popular for what their normal shows do, so I'm not exactly sure where it goes after this, but it's pretty clear that things have changed and everything's kind of turned upside down. And he feels bad about it. I guess that's the thing, right? Because, the whole time you're wondering, will he do this when it happens? Of course he's going to do it for his family. Like, that makes sense. But I feel like the Ghoul we met at the beginning would have done this without thinking twice.
Cold-blooded.
Sort of, the first time we saw that was with the Legion, right? He could have just given up those NCR soldiers. They've been literally sitting on a hill by themselves for this period of time, thinking, like nobody, like, that he wouldn't have felt bad about that until Lucy started to wear off on him, right?
I think so. And like, they've been setting this kind of like good guy path for him, where the NCR versus Legions, all this stuff. And then he kind of takes left at bad guyville here, but it's for an understandable reason. He's been spending 200 years to try to find his family and get answers to that, and he's ran into Lucy last month essentially. So what matters is that he cares about this. Like he's not able to just be completely cynical and say, well, she was going to die. Like she would be dead anyway. Yeah. She's a Balti that doesn't know anything. He likes her and he betrayed her and he knows it. And he's betrayed her in a particularly vile. It's not like he's just selling her to some stranger. He's given her to his dad, which he knows is a monster, And this was his plan the whole time too. Like the whole, this is not something that he came up with on the fly at the end. He was taking care of her and making sure she got there because he could trade her if necessary. Do you believe that was his first plan, or was that like his backup plan? Like if I run into Hank and things go bad, I've got a hostage that he cares about. And he didn't know that Hank had the other. It all happened pretty quick, right? You know, they were at the observatory. Hank took off in the power armor and they went in pursuit. So I don't know if he had it all worked out at that moment, but I think he probably could recognize that we're chasing after this girl's dad. It might be nice to have her around just in case, because you're living leverage. If nothing else, in the immediate, if they had a confrontation right away, I mean, the guy's wearing power armor, so he might be able to thrash you, like being even in that situation. But I'm sure it developed pretty quickly that he realized that, if he knew that Hank was going to go somewhere Vault Tech related, and he was hoping it was one of these special management vaults, that it would be nice to have his family member, if there was going to be a chance that Hank was going to have control of his family members. All right. That's the end of the episode. Is there anything else that you want to talk about before we kind of get in outro mode? Or is there anything we left, any rad roaches we left unrustled, unwrangled? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that I'm thinking about that I can't really bring up that would be kind of spoilery. I do think that... I guess the main thing is I believe that there is somebody. I think what Hal said is going to turn out to be true, and I wonder how that fits into sort of the story that they told at the end of the first season. Because one of the things with this is that I like that little twist that they put on it. I like the idea that, humans do kind of always wage war and always kind of, fight over resources. And that cycle has, repeated itself over and over again. But also powerful people are all, make this kind of stuff happen too. Like sometimes it's not just our nature that it gets pushed in those directions because of the fact that it favors certain people. It's favorable to them. People who don't have to actually fight in the wars that they start, right? So that's Robert House. He's proud of it. He doesn't use his brawn, he uses his brain, and the people that use brawn are beneath him. Right. But at the same time, this episode is telling us that he's probably not the one, and he doesn't even know who the one is that is making this happen. So I think that's pretty interesting. And I'm kind of excited to see what they have in store. Because like I said, I thought that was a pretty effective ending for the first season. Like even if it never turned out to be that Vault Tech did drop the bombs, because I think in that situation, the story is that it would happen one way or the other. Vault Tech's not saying like, let's start like if we took Barb completely at what she said as like, at face value, she wasn't saying like, let's start a war because that'd be good for us. She was saying that the war is going to start either way. If we want to capitalize, we start it ourselves so we know exactly when it's going to happen. It's still a crazy way to look at things. Like, it's really, there's no way to stop this war. There's really no way. It's got to just, the only thing you can do is accelerate it and use it for your own ends. Like, Maybe that's my bias, but everything that Barb says, I think is kind of self-serving and bullshit, and same thing about Hank and House and all those other guys. But I'm curious to see where it all goes, because
and that's what I
knew where I was going, and this episode kind of knocked over my table a little bit. And exciting.
That's what I was going to say, was that what I really liked about the way this episode came together is that I really want to know what the hell's going on with Barb. I'm increasingly suspicious of Hank and like what he's up to, but like Barb is really the one. That's the key for flashbacks, Cooper, and that's really finding out what's going on with her is going to make a big difference. And we end on that note of like, we've got to talk. Like, he's known about this conversation he overheard for a while. He's never brought it up to her. Hopefully we're going to see that in the next episode. And I don't really know how that's going to go.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how she would react to that. I don't know how complicit she is. And I think that's pretty fun place to be in.
It's a pretty fun place to leave things this week, and that's so much like a Pete Peppers outro. And I think that's a pretty good place to leave this podcast. Pete, tell people again where they can find you. And again, all this stuff will be in the show notes as well.
Yes, youtube.com. If you ever heard of that, just search for Pete Peppers and you'll find me. I have like
first
social media and stuff.
Sure.
You can find me. You can find those there too. I'm not a big poster. I don't even really spend as much time on social media these days, but
same, brother.
I still appreciate anyone who does follow me on those things, just in case somehow it all turns around and it becomes a fun place to hang out again. Yeah,
that'd be nice. Well, hey, I appreciate you for the kind of last minute coming in and being a pinch podcaster for us. Love your content. Pete is doing weekly breakdowns on his YouTube channel. I imagine, what are the stuff you're really excited for this year? I know you and I both are excited for Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
I don't know. I'm having trouble. I feel like this is going to be an off year.
Really?
I mean, like,
House of the Dragon
just as far as like, just because we had Severance last year and
The Last of Us,
and like I feel like this is going to be the year that it's going to be on the opposite end of those, but those can be good years at the same time. Because like I was hoping that like say Shogun might come back. That's definitely not going to come back this year. Right. It seemed like
the new Harry Potter's not going to drop.
Like I like Industry. Industry just came out, but then they dropped that at the exact same time they did Night of the Seven Kingdoms. So like I couldn't really cover that. Yeah. So it's just like there's not a ton that I'm like super excited about, but those usually are situations where something cool that I wasn't expecting comes around, and so yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. Yeah,
I feel like there's so much TV going on right now, but then I have no idea. Once I get out into summer, like it's a lot hazier about what I know. The Bear will be in June, and I hear there's another Ted Lasso that's going to be out this season 4. Ted Lasso, a surprise season of Ted Lasso is going to make it out this year. But wherever there's good television, you'll find Bald Move and Pete Peppers.
Yeah, like I'm watching The Pit. Like I watched the first episode of The Pit. I'm watching Industry. I watched the Night of the Seven Kingdoms to prepare for that, but there's a ton of stuff, but I can only cover a few things at a time. And this year is sort of, like I said, the off season for a lot of my bigger shows. So we'll see what comes down the line. I mean, like some of the smaller ones are coming back, but we'll see. Like For All Mankind should probably eventually drop a new season at some point.
I know that cosmonaut show they're working on.
Yeah, and then also Neuromancer.
Neuromance. Yeah.
I think that's coming out this year. I'll be excited to see that.
All right.
That's one of those kind of things where it could be, because when I first read that, like it felt so different worldy, you know what I mean? That we kind of passed it up at this point, you know?
Yeah.
Like technologically or whatever, because
it's going to feel weirdly retro.
Yeah, so I mean, that's one of those ones that if they nail it, if they get it right, then it'll be super cool. I think. If not, it might be, the story's good, but the actual show might not live up to expectations. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, Pete, thanks for coming on and helping us out. If you'd like to send us feedback, we're not going to do it this week because kind of Jim's the feedback guy now, and this all was kind of last minute, me trying to scramble around and get everything put together. But we'll be back with feedback next week, and we'll be back with another episode of Fallout. Again, check out Pete Pepper's stuff on YouTube. Fallout@baldmove.com is how you send us feedback. Support.baldmove.com if you want to get ad-free feeds and extra bonus audio and video content. More Bald Move in your life. Check out that, and it helps us keep making podcasts. Always appreciate that. Final time, thanks, Pete. Appreciate you coming on the show. Until next time, I'm your host, Aaron.
I'm Pete.
This is Pete, and Jim will be back next week. See ya!
We're going down.